You are willfully blind if you don't realize that protecting white supremacy is the primary goal of Trump, MAGA, Project 2025, white evangelicals, white nationalists, and the GOP. And they will mislead you with their false claims that Biden and the Democrats have weaponized the criminal justice system against Trump, a wealthy white man. A New York jury found Trump guilty, not a federal jury. And Bragg is a state prosecutor, not a federal prosecutor. The GOP's intense defense of Trump, the world's leading advocate of white supremacy, stems from one place, and that is their fear that the nation may not reelect him so that they can continue their agenda of protecting white supremacy. In other words, they are gaslighting Trump's convictions. The absolute truth is Trump and the GOP have weaponized the criminal justice system against black men. And despicably, instead of telling America the truth, black conservatives like Tim Scott are out here capping and coning for Trump. But Trump is no victim. They are flat out lying. And again, as a practicing criminal defense attorney who sees the injustices against black men, I will not allow them to promote that false narrative without a strong rebuttal. So stay with me for this video. Hello, everybody. I am attorney Augustus Corbett, one half of the Defiant Lawyers. And each and every week, we bring you at least one legal analysis of some trending story regarding politics, policies, personalities, or pop culture to empower you with the information you need to defy this unjust legal system and to nullify systemic racism. If that interests you, and I certainly hope it does, please like, share, comment, subscribe, and click the bell so you'll get notified when we upload one of our powerful and informative videos. Hello and welcome to the show, and we're going to get right into it. Again, the system is rigged against blacks, not Trump. And I want you to be really clear about that, because the right-wing media, Trump and all his surrogates, all his followers, MAGA, Project 2025, are out here having hissy fits, trying to convince America that Trump, a rich white man who has had white privilege all his life, is somehow now the victim. The very people who have established injustices in the criminal system against black men. So I'm not going to stand by and let this narrative be widely dispensed all over social media and main media without giving a strong rebuttal. Now, before I get into this, please go to Amazon and grab you a copy of my book entitled Education Injustice. I assure you two things. If you have sons in the public education system, they're being mistreated. But I assure you another thing. This book will help you become their strongest advocate. So grab a copy of this book. Bars has started. The Bars Summer Reading Program has started. Registration is still open. We're going to leave registration open throughout the summer. So come on, sign up, sign up, sign up, sign up. And those of you who have signed up, remember this. You need to go to Facebook. We created a Facebook group for the Bars Summer Reading Program. And that's where we will have our sort of community there. It's a private Facebook group, and it's also there that you will log in your son or son's reading progress. So it's essential that you go and find the Facebook group for the Bars Summer Reading Program, okay? That's where we're going to build community and have a little fun competition with this summer reading program, okay? All right, so let's get into this. Hey everyone, I am attorney Augustus Corbett, one half of the Defiant Lawyers. Recently, I took a look at our analytics and I noticed something shocking. Many of you watch our videos, and I believe you enjoy them, but you haven't subscribed yet. What are you waiting for? Again, I was shocked because I know our content is empowering and informative. Plus, our 2024 goal is to have 150,000 subscribers before the end of the year. Please help us by hitting that subscribe button, especially you young folks. We particularly want to increase our number of young subscribers. Thanks for all your continued support. We appreciate it very much. The system is rigged against black men, not rich white men like Trump. That is a farce, but they are pushing it hard and heavy. They are filling the airways with lies about the criminal justice system being rigged against Trump. I'll not stand for that disinformation since, again, I practice criminal defense. Many of my clients are young African-American men, and they are the real victims of the criminal justice system, largely because of what Trump and MAGA have been doing. Remember, it was Trump, by the way, who tried to get 4 African-American kids and 1 Hispanic kid put to death based on trumped-up charges, pun intended. So this man is not a victim of the criminal justice system. This man has tried to use the system against black people. What's more, whenever we say that systemic racism impacts the criminal justice system, it is white conservatives, MAGA, that whole cult that strongly denies that and says that we blacks are race baiting, that we are playing the race card, that we are playing victimology. But now that is one of theirs, their chieftain at that, now it's rigged against, again, a rich white dude named Donald Trump. Give me a break. I guess, though, my most fierce anger is directed at black conservatives like Tim Scott. Let me show you why. Let's watch this video.
I can't believe the hoax, this sham, this absolute injustice justice system. DA Bragg and the judge should be ashamed of themselves. This isn't just ridiculous. This actually erodes the confidence that Americans have in the justice system. Unbelievable. Unfreaking believable. But good news is coming. DA Bragg, hear me clearly. You cannot silence the American people. You cannot stop us from voting for change. Joe Biden's injustice, Joe Biden's 2-tier injustice system, weaponizing the justice system of the United States of America against a political opponent, un-American. Joe Biden, you're fired. We the people stand with Donald Trump.
That is sad and pathetic and pitiful. It's downright disgusting, to be honest with you, to see that person with all that melanin in his skin capping for Trump like that. Where is all that energy when these young black men are killed by police officers for no justifiable reason? Where is all that energy when young black men are racially profiled? Where is all that energy when young black men are overcharged? Where is all that energy when black men make up a disproportionate percentage of those who are incarcerated? Where is all that energy, Tim Scott? Why are you saying all this for a man who has had nothing but privileges all his life? And a jury of his peer found him guilty, and not one person on the jury saw reasonable doubt in 34 cases. Yet here you are, arguing how unjust the system is. But you haven't done that for people who look just like you. Just like you, Tim Scott. Your nephews, your brothers, your uncles, people who look just like you, and you've not used your position, your senator seat, to argue as strongly for them as you are for this con man, Donald Trump. It is so very disgusting. Now, let's look at some data. Let me show you who the system is really, really rigged against. It is not people like Donald Trump. So we're going to read some excerpts from an article, a paper written by Hedwig Lee, PhD. She is a Duke professor, sociology professor, and she wrote a very well-written article. And I want to read some excerpts from it, which has some data that shows us the truth about who the system is rigged against. So in her report, she says, if the keystone of the American criminal justice system is the presumption of innocence, then the cornerstone is racism. Racism is foundational to the U.S. criminal justice system because racism undergirds all of American society. The U.S. was conceived, birthed, developed, and flourished through the subjugation, exploitation, and exclusion of Black and indigenous peoples. Okay, this is Professor Dr. PhD Lee, who actually does the research on this. She's not just running her mouth like Tim Scott. She does the research specifically on these issues as a sociology professor. She goes on to say this repression was legitimized through the codification of laws disallowing full humanity to Black and indigenous peoples and a criminal legal system to enforce these laws. And this subjugation continues to be evidenced in the large, persistent, and systematic racial disparities in the enforcement of laws. Therefore, it is insufficient to describe racism as operating within the criminal justice system. Rather, racism operates this system. Let me say that again. Let me read that again. I want you to hear this loud and clear from this professional, this expert. And I quote her, therefore, it is insufficient to describe racism as operating within the criminal justice system. Rather, racism operates this system. Wow. Now, what she's going to do here is explain what structural racism is and how it actually runs the criminal justice system. So she says, and I quote, structural racism and its analogs are often utilized to describe racism, primarily to signal that racism encompasses much more than individual actions by a few persons and to avoid the common conflation of races with racism. Structural racism is systematic. It is the interrelated network of a society's formal and informal institutions with policies and practices that favor certain racial groups over others and operates without the need on the part of its actors to intend harm or hold dislike of certain racial groups. Let me break that down. Structural racism is systematic, is systemic. It is a part of the system. It doesn't rely on the individuals. The individuals don't even have to be racist, and they can even be Black. But because they operate within a system, it is the system that favors one group and disfavors another group. And for example, in the criminal justice system, you have systems such as policing, probation, parole, court services, jury services, the judges. Those are systems within the criminal justice system. And they have certain policies and practices that disfavor Black people. And again, the actors in these systems can even be Black. And yet the system produces these disparate numbers, and outcomes for Black people. That's structural racism. And that's why Trump and his surrogates are lying through their nostrils, through their teeth, to say that the system has been unfair to Donald Trump and to white men generally. Now, against that backdrop, Professor Lee says, structural racism operates to exclude, surveil, and control, often violently, certain racialized groups through institutional policies and practices that reflect the underlying ideas of whose lives matter. Key to this and other definitions of structural racism is that of an interconnected network. It is the interconnected relationships across and within institutions over place and time working to maintain racial inequality that both describe racism and help us to understand its robust nature. She's trying to say that there are networks like a spider web, right, that are all connected and together produce these disparate outcomes for Black people in particular. You don't even see it. And oftentimes, again, the actors are Black or they're real nice white people. And you're thinking there's no way that these people are racist. Well, they may not be. They may be really nice people. It is the system. That's why it's systemic racism. That's why Professor Lee says it's structural racism based on systematic policies and practices and procedures. It is so hard sometimes convincing people that that is the type of racism that we currently deal with. We don't deal necessarily with white people calling Blacks the N-word. That happens, but that doesn't have to happen. That doesn't have to happen in order for there to be a racist incident to occur. That doesn't have to happen in order for a person, a Black person, to experience racism. I had to explain that to a white lawyer a couple of weeks ago. In one of our cases, this white lawyer said, well, there was no overt racism involved in this incident. And we had to school him. It doesn't have to be. It is the system and practices and policies, procedures that produce the disparate impact against Black people. All right, let's go back. It is also critical to understand that structural racism is inextricably tied to cultural racism, which can be characterized as social and behavioral norms, ideologies, and values, and overarching epistemology premised on the explicit, but more often the implicit, understanding that certain racialized groups are superior to other groups. So the racism can be embedded in the culture, in the actual culture, in the norms and ideologies of the culture, in the values of the culture. And you see, when racism is systematic like this, it's really more or less in the air. And you're breathing it in. And it is affecting you and people who look like you, melanated people, but you're not even aware of it. I had a friend to say it is not the shark in the water, it is the water itself that is dangerous. Because if you see the shark in time, you can get away from the shark. But when you are sucking in the water and the water has the contaminant, the racism in it, then it'll kill you and you not even know it. In fact, you'll be out here arguing that the water is okay. And that's why people who deny systemic racism, like Tim Scott, they're looking for the sharks in the water, like Trump. But those of us in this space, and even Tim Scott knows better than this, we don't need the overt racist individual in order for Black people to be harmed by racism, because it's in the system. It's in the systems of our country. All right, let's go back to our screen. Racial/ethnic disparities are evident at almost every point of contact in the criminal justice system, including policing, prosecutorial decisions, pretrial release processes, sentencing, correctional discipline, and reentry. Those are the various systems that make up the criminal justice system. And in every one of those systems, there are practices and policies that disfavor Black people. For example, policing, the most common deleterious impact or policy on Black folks is racial profiling. That is pulling over people just because they are Black, not having any reasonable suspicion, but just because they are Black, they're pulled over. And if you target any group like that, then you're bound to find crime. If you target white people like that, you are bound to find crime, and so on. So policing is one of the systems that really has a very negative impact on Black people. She goes on to say, although Black people made up just 12% of the entire U.S. population in 2020, they consistently make up a more sizable portion of the population experiencing policing, court processing, and corrections. Furthermore, Black persons often also face more severe consequences during these experiences. The age standardized mortality rate due to police violence was twice for Black persons what it was for white persons between 2015 and 2019. Black people made up 34% of all persons executed by correctional authorities in the United States between 1977 and 2020. White people constituted 56%. Now, the problem with that is we only make up like 12% of the population. Why are we almost three times the number of people who are put to death? That is the reason why I oppose the death penalty, because I know racism drives the imposition of the death penalty in this country. There's also much evidence to suggest that being Black increases one's risk for adverse outcomes during the criminal adjudication process, with Black defendants being much more likely to be denied bail and much less likely than white defendants to have their initial charges dropped or reduced. See, this is my response to those out there saying that Trump suffered some sort of injustice and those like him. It's not true. The evidence is clear. The studies are very, 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 very clear. So I'm not going to stand by or sit by silently as the right wing tell these lies and take attention away from the fact that Black men are those who suffer injustice in the criminal justice system and allow the attention to go to Trump. That I'm not going to sit by and allow to happen. I know some of you are going to say, well, it's because of Joe Biden's sponsoring the 1994 crime bill that has made things so unfair for African American men. I'm going to show you in an upcoming video that you've been lied to about the 1994 crime bill, or at a minimum, you've been misled. I'm going to show you the facts. I'm going to bring the facts to you about the absolve crime bill. I've been saying it. I've been trying to explain to you the nuances of the crime bill, not to exonerate or to absolve Biden from any responsibility he has for the way the 1994 crime bill may have impacted some Black men. But you just need to know the whole truth about it. And I'm going to do a video on it so that you'll understand the entire truth. But also remember, no matter what issue you got with the 1994 crime bill, which was enacted 30 years ago, we still got to vote for Joe Biden to keep a Donald Trump out of office because of the danger he poses to our country and to civil rights generally. Now, I want to bring up something on my screen to show you what I'm talking about. This is an upcoming video that Chloe is going to do here. This is a grant program for Black women business owners is discriminatory. Appeals court rules. This is this Fearless Fund case. Fearless Fund is a venture capitalist company that was raising and giving money to African American women business owners because it has been very difficult for African American business women and business people to get small business administration loans and to get capital to start and grow their businesses. So these brilliant sisters said, then we'll do it ourselves. Well, the same man who fought and won the battle against affirmative action filed a lawsuit based on that affirmative action case against the Fearless Fund Company. And today, the appeal court ruled that when they give money to Black women, it is discriminatory. So he has won again. My daughter, Chloe, is preparing a video to go more in depth about how this could impact so many things as it relates to African American people. All the more reason why we cannot let Trump, Project 2025, and MAGA back in the White House. All right? Thank you for watching this video. My name is Augustus Corbett, as you know, one half of the Defiant Lawyers. And we bring you this type of content each and every week to keep you informed so you'll know how to defy this unjust legal system and to nullify systemic racism. Until the next time, blessings and peace.